Hello and welcome to the Connected Life webinars with Dr. Steve and Fonso. I'm here with Dr. Steve, who, as always, will be leading the discussion with his expertise. My name is Brittany, and I will be asking the questions. Today, our topic of discussion is live your most authentic and inspired life. Now, I'd like to take a second to remind you that there will be a recorded version of this webinar available to watch once we're done. So if you miss anything during this playthrough, don't worry, you'll be able to go back and watch it later. All right, if you'd like to grab a cup of coffee or a tea before we start, go ahead and do that while we settle in, and we'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Hey, Dr. Steve, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing fabulous. Thank you.
Good. All right, well, we're here today to discuss how to live your most authentic life and inspired life in 2020. So I have a couple questions. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Now, my first question, considering that you're a doctor of chiropractic medicine, is there a link between our spine and our posture and mental stress? And if yes, could you explain how the two correlate?
Yeah, sure. Especially since we're talking about living an inspired life. Our bodies are great reflectors of our general emotional state. So
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, when you're looking at living an inspired life, there's relative, at least unless it's directly correlated with a lot of past experiences, you're not going to experience a lot of stress or tension, or that much postural variation when you're living inspired.
Right.
Because an inspired mind and an inspired body, in terms of the energy, is uplifted. So you're going to just naturally take on a nice toned posture, so to speak.
Right.
But since it reflects our emotions, if we're living lower in our values, if we're frustrated, irritated, if we're feeling stuck and we're feeling like we're not living in our core and authentically, it's very easy to start to jam the body up because it's reflecting those emotions.
Right.
And even if you walk down the street, I mean, if you look at people's postures, you could pretty much tell, what their default emotional states are.
Right.
Whether they're really stooped and postured in, whether they're super upright and rigid. I mean,
Yeah.
you really can get a real tone and a feedback from people's posture, let what their emotional states are. And an inspired state is upright posture and relaxed. That's essentially what an upright, what a inspired posture looks like.
Right.
When we're low on inspiration, when we're feeling depressive or down or frustrated or angry or irritated, our posture generally starts to kind of go inward, compress, tighten, torque itself. And so it's definitely, posture is a really good indication as to kind of how in line with life you've been living.
Right. Well, and it does make sense. Maybe even you at home who's watching this can play a game while you're people watching, walking down the street, and see if you can kind of pick out people, or see if you can figure out their personality or their state of being at that time, and then kind of put it onto yourself and think, okay, well, if I look like this or if I look like that, how am I going to be feeling if I was in their shoes looking that way, kind of thing.
Yeah, you can do
I mean, that's what I would do.
Yeah, so add to that, you could use the external world as a reflection, so you can take a look at them and get a good sense for, maybe just yeah, like you said, like scaling people from highly inspired, medium inspired, low inspired,
Yeah.
and see if you could grade people as they're walking by. Are they high, medium, or low inspired? You'll probably get a good idea as to what that posturing looks like. And then also, if you're more maybe internally oriented, you could also look at yourself in a mirror, and you could either think of something inspiring or be doing something inspiring. Even think of yourself doing something inspiring,
Yeah.
and just see what would the posture be if I was staying in this state of inspiration. What would that look like? How would I hold
Right.
my body as I'm standing in front of this mirror? So you can also do it internally as well, besides, and externally as getting feedback from people so that you can start to see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's a good point.
Perfect. My next question is, how exactly does the stress response work? And can it also work for us, or does it only work against us?
Yeah, so this think of like maybe two branches on a tree, and you have the core, and then you have two branches that split out. So one branch on one side is called your parasympathetics, and that's your
Right.
rest, relax, and digest system. And
Right.
so that's like the brake of the car, and so it slows everything down. And then on the other branch that would peel off, that would be like your gas pedal. That would crank up the stress response, your hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. It would spike all that. And so you have these two systems, like a gas and a brake, that are constantly trying to respond to what's happening in your environment, but it also responds to your thought process.
Right.
Okay, so they're both going on. So both your body's an amazing system in both it's interpreting both your outer world and then also responding to your inner dialogue and your inner world as well. And
Mhm.
the break gets activated when you feel like your values and when you're doing things that are supporting your values, and when the gas pedal, the stress response gets pushed when you feel that your values aren't supported or that you're doing things that aren't high in your values.
Right.
So if you perceive that you're doing things that are going against your core nature, you're going to spike the stress response. And if you feel like you're doing things that are in line and inspired with your core nature, you're going to have nice balance between the two.
Right.
So that's essentially how that kind of stress response, the gas brake cycle works in your system. And
Hmm.
again, just depending on a big part of it is what you're perceiving. If you're perceiving yourself as not being inspired, not doing things that are in line with your values and that you're really content with or jazzed about, your system is going to start to produce more stress hormones. And to the degree that you feel challenged is to the degree that you're going to pump out those stress hormones. So if you feel completely overwhelmed with things that are not high in your values,
Yeah.
well, you could bet that you're creating a whack load of consistent stress hormones. And if you're doing things that are just mildly kind of annoying, then
Yeah.
you're gonna elicit a different amount of stress hormones with that.
Right.
And the other is true as well, is when you're doing things that are extremely supportive of your values and you're feeling dialed in, your system is extremely balanced. Whereas if you're doing things that are they're okay, they're not bad, they're
Yeah.
sort of fun or sort of okay, then again, your system is going to be activated in a different way. So the stress response is a great feedback for us to assess if we're living inspired and in our values.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to look at it, actually. Could you even, if you're living in your highest values, um, can you experience the stress response while you're living that way? Or do you find it's just kind of not even really there at all? Because if you're living an authentic and expired, or it's expired, inspired life,
Yeah.
um, then you're kind of like up here and you don't have to worry about anything nagging at you or anything like that. Um, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, can you still experience stress even if you're in like a good state of mind?
Uh, it'll most likely play in the background because when we're in an inspired state, we're in a flow state,
Yeah.
which maybe some people will align with just the idea of being in flow or of being in harmony. And that flow state consists of two things. It consists of a balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, the gas and the brake, but they're basically jostling themselves back and forth at a very quick speed and almost unnoticeable speed.
Right.
So you won't necessarily feel completely relaxed and you won't necessarily feel completely wound. You're going to just be poised and steady in the middle as the gas and the brake are making micro fluctuations while you're doing, and that's essentially what a flow state is. A flow state is not a relaxed state. but it's not an overstress state. It's both in combination. And just think of the gas brake, and you're just jostling it. The system's just jostling it fast back and forth so that it's not even noticed. It's experienced as flow, not too relaxed and lazy and lethargic, not too stressed and overwhelmed. You're poised and steady in the middle, and it's just oscillating back and forth.
Right. So I guess like what we really want is to be right in that perfect medium.
Yeah, that sweet spot. And you don't necessarily just for clarification, we won't sit still in the middle. It'll be a constant little micro oscillation between both. So it'll jostle, but it jostles so fast you don't notice it. So you're in a state of flow.
Right. Well, you can just ride the waves. Yeah.
Right. And so you're out of flow when either that the gas and the brake begin to slow down, and you're pushing the brake for a long period, and then you're pushing the gas for a period of time, and that's when you'll feel the overwhelm, and you try to kick over to relax and put your feet up on the couch because you're feeling overwhelmed. So the system is moving slowly between those two. So the fact that you're moving slowly is you're needing to crank it out, or you're needing to have massive rest. And so in an inspired state, you're kind of colliding those together at a much more rapid speed between the gas and the brake. And that's the flow state that you want to be in.
Right. That clarifies it a lot, actually, just having that little visual of that kind of that movement, even of just your hands back and forth, right? Where it's like just oscillating ever so slightly puts a lot of clarification into like where you should be.
Yeah. So the feedback would be like, if you are consistently wanting to flop on the couch and put your feet up and tune out, it probably, I'm not saying that you can't do that, or that there's necessarily low value in just kicking up and relaxing. But if you find consistently that it's like like you just have to like flop on the couch, then it's probably giving you a little bit of feedback to say you're not quite dialed in right. Like it's not quite an inspired state. It's one thing to sit on the couch and enjoy your time and sip some tea or watch some TV in a relaxed state. But if you're flopping,
like completely melted into the couch,
like completely melting into it, you just might want to potentially use that as a clue to ask yourself the question of, why is my body and why is my being, hi doc, needing, why is it requiring such a dramatic shift to turn that brake on? Because if you're in a flow state and an inspired state, you really shouldn't even notice it. The transitions are more smooth. The transition between work and doing the dishes and the couch and going back to work, and like if you're in a decent flow state, it's not so dramatic as you're moving around from kind of station to station in life.
Well, it would more be like a simple decision rather than like you wake up at 8 a.m. and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get on the couch and just not do anything, or I can't wait for the weekend. I just want to do nothing. Whereas I guess if you were in a flow state, you would just kind of be going and, okay, it's Friday. Why don't we just hang out on the couch for a little while? Rather than that, like, that necessity of
necessarily. Enjoying wine is one thing. Numbing yourself is another. Enjoying some TV programs is one thing, or some movies is one thing. Numbing yourself to an oblivion because of the pre-existing overwhelm, like those are different states of being that you want to just kind of monitor and take note of. Not everyone's meant to fly out of bed in the morning. Some gurus might state that when you're really inspired, you're zipping out of bed, and I don't know. I mean, it's just I think just continuing to refine and monitor your life as feedback is what's most important, not what other people say what your life should look like, but based on what I've working with people is and again, just on the gas and brake system, just kind of thinking about that is do you do you feel decent amount of energy even when you're relaxing and watching a program, or
Yeah.
relaxing in a bath, or relaxing as you move into bedtime, or is it, oh my god, I got to completely just tune everything out, I got to just go
Yeah.
lay in the bath, close the door, no one bother me, I need complete silence, like
Yeah.
those are good feedbacks to let you know that you're perceiving an over challenge, and you're not driven in an inspired state. I'm
Perfect.
sure
Yeah.
most of us, or you, or I, could attest to times, moments where we lose time. We lose track of time. We lose track of where we are. We're in such a zone, such a flow state. Maybe it's creating music, or writing, or painting,
Yeah.
or creating a business, or raising your kids, or whatever that is. But like,
Yeah.
you're in such a flow state that you're like, oh my god, where did 3 hours go?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so that's what you want to kind of, I think, observe as a self reflector, is
Right.
how am I moving, how am I lumbering around in my energy, and what are kind of my behaviors throughout the day, and it'll give you a good indication if you're living inspired.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question, I'm sure all of us have experienced some effects of mental and physical overwhelm, as we just talked about. But do you have any tips or advice on how to reverse the negative effects of chronic mental and physical overwhelm?
Yeah, my experience in working so many repetitions with the body is that the body is a wonderful storage house for our overwhelm, and it packs loads of different tensions for experiences and circumstances that are experienced as a challenge. So
Yeah.
the body is in my seminars I talk about, the body responds 500 milliseconds before the brain has a chance to respond. So the body's already responding to your life. And so, starting with the body, with your breath,
Hmm.
begin to bring the brain's awareness to the body, to me, is a wonderful entrance point. It's a non-judgmental entrance point into um, old physical and emotional and mental stressors. And we could pretty much assume that all of us have some, to some degree, whether they're extremely in the past, or whether you've done up some cleanup work and you've done a lot of personal development or spirituality work. I've worked with a lot of people that um, feel like they're pretty dialed in, and
Hmm.
there's still cleanup work to do,
Yeah.
So there's still ways that you can connect with your breath and your body and your tension. So I'm a big fan of that. I mean, we have some resources online on our website for that, some simple downloads for breath work and things like that,
Perfect.
which I suggest for people. It's such a simple starting point, and it's these resources of your own hands and your own breath, with a little bit of guidance, can be extremely powerful in helping you to liberate some of those old tensions that really anchored themselves in, that you thought were just, and that moment in time, maybe 10 years ago, you thought this thing was just the worst hell that you went through. um,
Yeah.
you can look back at it now and say, oh, I could see why that needed to happen, but it can linger in the body, and create uh, a bit of a bias moving forward when you're
Yeah.
holding on to extra tension. So
Yeah.
I definitely suggest for people some sort of daily or weekly practice where they're getting into their body and helping to liberate some of the stored tension, stored stress that they experience. Our practice is geared towards that. In my
Right.
personal practice, it's geared towards that and helping people to resolve and liberate some of that stored tension energy that's locked in their system. But there's so many different breath work meditations or breath work online, YouTube stuff that you can find that'll just guide you through some simple breath work, and it does pay dividends. It's like making a small little deposit in your bank account over and over and over again. It does pay over time, just to drop a little bit of awareness into that body to help to clear out some of the tensions, and that will help to undo some of the old stuff, for
Right.
sure. And I also noticed in doing mental work with people, The more you do the body work, you're much more available for the mental work and to go a little bit deeper with it. So, so that is one other reason why I suggest for people get in your body and feel your body and feel the tensions and work through them, because it'll make you much more energized and available for when mind work is ready. You can tackle it a lot more effortlessly. It's not taking up so much. It's like your phone, when it gets clogged up, it just doesn't run as smooth. It doesn't run as fast. You run out of space. And so the same thing in your body is the more tensions that build, you run out of space and you run out of patience for doing work that's needed to do using the faculties of your brain. So get in the body, get in your breath is definitely my suggestion for sure.
Right. And I guess if it's chronic mental or physical overwhelm, after time, like you kind of mentioned with the phone, your body kind of goes on autopilot and it gets used to that slower pace. And you almost don't even pay attention to your body anymore. You almost don't even realize that you've got a body or a breath or,
Yeah, it's tough to see what our own, it's near impossible to see what your own upgrade is going to look like.
Yeah.
And so so we're all, me included, we're caught in our specific level of our specific function and thinking at this moment in time.
Right.
I have no clue right now what that next level is for me. I've experienced some great levels of awakening. I've had a few of those which were amazing, and at the same time I still know that I'm operating with a certain parameter of my intellectual and emotional and physical capabilities.
Right.
So that's where, maybe having a coach or hiring someone or to draw even some more juice out of you, because you don't know really what is at that next level, which is why people hire trainers and coaches and things like that, because they can assist you in hopping onto that next level.
Like a trainer for your brain.
Yeah, like a trainer from your brain or for your emotional state or whatever it is. Yeah, so there's trainers for that. And again, you never know what your next level is. And so as you begin to live towards an authentic life, peeling away the physical and mental attitudes and anchors and tensions that have been developed over time is a pathway to having you continuously reveal what's most inspiring to you.
Right.
Okay. And that's important because people, again, like the phone, you get clogged down and you lose what your inspiration is. You lose what your highest values are, and you get clogged down, bogged down, and you disconnect and you forget, although it's always there, you forget with the amount of overload, you forget what your most inspired state is. You forget what your most aligned vision is for your life. We lose track of that. It's there. It's just, we lose track of it.
Right. And I know we've talked about this in the past. So if you're somebody who follows along with Dr. Steve's videos, YouTube, anything like that, you may have heard him explain it. But I'm wondering if you can explain language patterns and how they can reveal your true state in that specific moment in time based on like what you're saying and what you're feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you're huge on that.
Let's start with the two ends. So the most inspired state is the language of love. Like, oh, I'd love to do this. I would absolutely love it if this occurred, or if this happened, or I love it when I feel this way. I love it when I do this. So when we express that naturally, when it pops out of our mouth, we know we're in an inspired state. We're doing things that are of our highest value. When on the other end, when we're saying things like, a couple giveaway words are need to or have to. So when you say, I need to do this, I need to get this done, I need to go over here, I need to go over, I have to do this, I have to go grocery shopping, I have to do this. When you're saying I have to's or I need to's, you're functioning out of the lowest parts of your nervous system and the least inspired state.
Right.
And they're the lowest things on your values. And so you might feel because of maybe some external expectations or injecting other people's values into your life, you need to do this, or you think you have to do this.
Right.
And those are clear verbal giveaways that you are doing something that is low energy for you
Mm-hmm.
and low inspired for you. Now, I guess the biggest obstacle that I hear when I mention that to people is that, well, what about the things I have to do? I mean, I have to go get groceries, and I need to do certain things for my basic survival. Like I need to get dressed and I need to do those things.
Right.
And yes, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you'll notice that food and shelter are the lowest on the hierarchy of needs, meaning that you will use that language around primitive survival mechanisms.
Right.
Okay? So if you feel like you're completely depleted on calories and completely depleted on energy, you'd say, I need to eat something.
Right.
Okay. But if you're fulfilled in that category and you just want to go and you're already not calorie deficient, you're like, I would love to go for a dessert.
Yeah.
People say, I need a dessert. Well,
I need a dessert.
maybe some sugar addicts.
No one eye rolls
It's
when
like,
they say dessert.
I would love some chocolate right now. I would love to have something. So once the primitive needs are met, you can kind of move to that next level of desires, and your language patterns start to naturally change with that.
Right.
But yeah, need to, and have to are dead giveaways that you're doing something that is either low on the hierarchy of human needs or low on your values.
So I guess even like practicing for little things like, oh, I need to get dressed. I need to do this, I need to do that. I guess practicing swapping out those words for like, I want to get dressed. Why do I want to get dressed? Well, I want to get dressed because I, want to be presentable, or I want to look good at work, or you know what I mean? And kind of finding that what's in it for you to want to do that.
Yeah,
kind of a key.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that rephrasing some of those words, like I need to get dressed versus I would love to look beautiful today.
Yeah.
Right. And like so you're not saying I need to look beautiful today. I'd love to look beautiful today, or I'd love to find an outfit that complements my energy.
Right.
Or and so changing up those little linguistics will have you perceive your wardrobe different.
True. Yeah.
Right. So because if you're functioning linguistically and energy wise out of a need state, you're seeing reality in a survival based way.
Yeah.
Whereas if you start now raising your energy up, say, I would love to look beautiful. What clothes today are going to help me to feel beautiful? Right. And I'd love to feel beautiful. Now your filter for what you're seeing is going to look different. And so language patterns, if you're aware enough, if you can switch them, they'll change your perception. They
I love that.
Hand, like our perception and our language are happening hand in hand, and so you can either change your perception or change your language. They'll influence both.
Right. And after time, once you get those patterns right in your head, it'll just become a natural switch of the words, right? You maybe won't even use need and want or have to or whichever.
Or you'll catch yourself very fast.
Right.
Yeah. And you'll catch yourself really fast on it. And again, it's like the stages of learning where you go from I'm brutal at it and I have no clue how to start changing my language, and this video maybe can bring some light, and now people realize that they're aware but they're kind of unconscious to this pattern. But the stages of learning, you eventually want to get it to what we call unconscious competence, where you don't even have to think about it. It just all of a sudden your language patterns just change,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That would be lovely. Yeah.
I would love it if we could all.
I would love it. I want to. I want everyone to see value in that last question.
Yes.
And to feel beautiful. Okay, next question. Is there a specific framework that you like that we could use to ensure that we're living an authentic and inspired life on a daily basis? Now, would it be taking in those language patterns, doing breath work all the time, or like, do you have a specific kind of setup that you think is like set for success?
Yeah, I'll give my basic setup.
All right.
Is if I'm checking in to see if I'm revisiting my values again.
Yep.
So we'll do this maybe in two parts. So if I'm revisiting my values, just to make sure that I'm in line with my values, I'm asking myself, what am I most energized about? What do I tend to think about or dream about most often?
Right.
And where do I seem to naturally spend the most amount of my time doing what? Just naturally, without someone asking me. And so by asking kind of the where do I spend my time, what am I most energized about, and what do I kind of daydream about or think about in my spare time, those are some really good giveaways as to what you're most valuing.
Yep.
And so I'll just reflect on that again. And then also at the beginning of the day is what are the highest priority actions that I can take that are going to help me to fulfill those values?
Right.
So top 3 to 7 things that you can do per day to give yourself the permission to go for what's most important while still maybe having a little bit in that list of the things that just are required to do for daily survival in normal life.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So you might have your grocery list, you might have cooking, or you might have, I don't know, going, maybe for some it's going to work, I don't know, whatever it is that you just for survival purposes. But then also giving yourself that permission when you know things that you love. Like my wife loves refurbishing furniture, so that as a consistent to give yourself permission to do your highest value, highest priority action steps is definitely essential to do. So start with number 1. Remind yourself of what your innate values are, and everyone's very different. I mean, it kind of was what makes us unique as human beings. It is said by my mentor that no two human beings have the exact same value structure. So it does make us
snowflakes.
We are, yes. And so just reassuring yourself that you know what your values are.
Yep.
And then at the start of your day, just making a nice little list of 3 to 7 things that will help you to fulfill that highest value. And maybe you just start with 1, but I would shoot to start to push to consume your day with higher value things. Your days are going to be more energized more often. Wouldn't that be nice? More energy more often.
That'd be wonderful.
But you gotta, your actions in your day have to line up with your values.
Yeah.
So that would be a good start.
Yeah. Or else you're kind of going back to the beginning of the webinar where you were just melting into the couch instead of being in a flow state and riding that wave.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of on the outset working at creating your flow.
Right.
You're participating with it at least.
Yeah.
I mean, you could rely on all your inner work to achieve flow with independent of what your circumstances are. And some people might say that that's the be all and end all. And I would say, well, if we could also co-participate with it and work at also consciously contributing to this flow state,
right.
Why don't we just do that as well? So
right.
I think that's my approach anyways.
Yeah. Well, and I get a lot of people like to say that they like to kind of live on not the edge, but just no structure. They're like, yeah, I can just kind of do this on a whim or do that on a whim. But really, I guess the key, what I'm hearing from you is the key to really getting into that flow state and living an authentic and inspired life is to really actually put some structure. It doesn't have to be a lot of structure, but just a little bit of structure to kind of guide yourself and give yourself those guidelines of where you want to be and your goals for the day or whatever, so that your brain has like a little bit of a plan or a schedule to live by. Like,
Yeah.
and to constantly check in throughout the day to say, okay, am I really living by what I wanted to do or how I wanted to be this morning, or what's going on here? Do I need to restructure?
Yeah, if you watch, no, that's a good point because, there are people that kind of say like, I want to just live in
I
the
just want to be.
flow
Yeah.
and that's fine, but I would still challenge them to, think if you went on a vacation
Hmm.
and we said, we're just going to be all day long for 7 straight days, and we're just going to be, and we're just going to go wherever the kind of wind brings our sails to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can do that. And for some, maybe that's high on their value to
Hmm.
master that,
Yeah.
potentially. But we have minds, and minds like a focus.
Yeah.
And minds also like to make sure that your highest values are fulfilled. So I would even question, even if they are flowing, okay,
Hmm.
that their mind is still not focusing on their highest values.
Right.
They're in a flow, maybe, or maybe they're moving like they are, but their mind is still focused on what's most important to them.
Yeah.
So whether they're sitting at a desk or whether they're sauntering on a beach, their mind is still going to be, it's going to muster its energy to focus on something.
Yeah.
And again, maybe the ocean is their most valued prized possession, and they love and they can hold a focus on the ocean.
Yeah.
But someone that might be um, maybe into writing, they're going to look at the same ocean and they're going to be thinking about how they could write about the ocean.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Or if someone's into painting, they're going to look at the ocean, and in the background of their awareness, they're going to see, how do I put this into a painting?
Right.
So we're still going to bring our individual value, even if we're most present in our experience. We're still bringing what our values are into it. We just
Right.
can't help but do that. So and again, being present is and being present in the flow is fine. And just don't fool yourself to think that you're not still going to filter that reality out in your
Hmm.
highest values. You
Right.
still are. If your highest values on your kids, you're going to look at the ocean and say, how can I get my kids here in this ocean to swim?
Yeah.
I would love to have my kids swimming in this ocean. You're not going to think, how can I paint it or how can I write about it? You're going to think, how can I have my kids swim in it?
Right.
So it's, again, your highest values follow you around because they
Right.
make up your identity, and they how you filter out your reality.
Right.
So you can be in the flow and be present. Just know that your values are coming with you.
Bam. um, do you have anything else that you'd like to touch upon about living authentically and inspired? I don't have any more questions for you, so if you want to finish up with a little something, you can do that now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we named Verescent Life. Verescent, very is true. Essence is your true nature. So it was, the business that we have is essentially named after living authentically, and it becomes more. It's not easy. Let's say that. It's not the easiest task to live authentically, which is probably why I wanted to challenge myself making the darn business name, because it it forces you to continue to clarify yourself and your life. And we know there's so much noise, and there's so much information and so many things that are wonderful distractions that can easily pull us away from living authentically and in our highest potential and our highest value. And so I encourage you, just honor where you're starting from. First of all,
Mhm.
wherever you're at right now, you just honor that. um, but then go and see if you could not unpack a little bit of what is most inspiring to you, and just putting that on a piece of paper and putting that on your fridge to say, these are the top 3 things that are most inspiring to me, will at least bring your attention and awareness there.
Yeah.
and then just watch to see if you witness that thing on the fridge for a week straight. If you don't start conjuring up ideas, conjuring up new attitudes or behaviors or things like that. But because it's such a distracting world, it's like we really do need to keep it front and center because it's so easy to get distracted. And
Yeah.
if you don't look at it for a few weeks, I'll guarantee YouTube, Facebook, Instagram will have sucked you off your path uh,
So easily.
so easily, and not to the fault of anyone, because all of us are sharing what's highest on our
Yeah.
values. So there are things that we can extrapolate. It's not like it's negative. It's just like we extrapolate things from social media that are those things feeding your highest values. You know,
Right.
when I watch YouTube videos or I'm watching Facebook things, I'm filtering my values to see, can I answer a question that I see coming up? Is there an opinion that I might have a different opinion on? Is there
Yeah.
something that I can share with people for greater insight on a problem that's circulating in social media or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So, so you know, you could use the distractions for good if you're aware of what you're really valuing,
Right.
and reinforcing that, and staying on top of that for yourself, so that you're staying dialed in and your energy is staying into what's most inspiring to you.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest. And again, it's easy to get distracted. So whatever those values are, um, whether it's one, two, or three, it doesn't matter. Even if it's one, put it on your fridge, put it somewhere where you will see it repetitiously to,
Right.
to be reminded of what your highest values are.
Right. And I have a little task after hearing that for you to try at home. Um, if you're like me and you like to scroll through Instagram all the time, maybe try after this video going through your Instagram and really looking at whether or not the accounts you follow are feeding into an authentic and inspired life for you, or if they're just kind of dragging you down, and maybe just click unfollow. Unfollow. That can be your task to help you maybe start the process going. Because I know for me that easily I can get dragged down. So I like to hit that unfollow button quite often.
That's
All
called
right.
life refinement, you know, like
Yeah.
refining your life, refining what is
Yeah.
coming into your awareness and influencing you. Because everything we looked at is an influence for you, right?
Yep.
And so weeding that out, adding things in, it's a constant little game.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, I think that is all that we have for you guys today. But we hope you learned something new and something valuable to help you live an authentic and inspired life. So thank you so much for joining us here today. But most importantly, we want you to thank yourself for taking the time for you. So well done.
Yes. And
As
Brittany, do we have
yeah,
a little offer for them too?
we do. Yeah. So as a little gift for showing up for yourself today, we'd like to offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation with Dr. Steve um, as just a little thank you for coming and showing up today. So feel free to email him at info@versatilife.com with webinar 30 as the subject. And if you're interested in setting that up or you have any questions, go ahead, contact him. As always, make sure you keep an eye out in your inbox for upcoming webinars and events, as we typically like to give our email subscriber an early heads up. So again, thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Steve, for sharing your knowledge and time with us.
Thank you. I much appreciate it. I really
We
appreciate
hope,
it.
yeah, we hope to see you guys all soon. And